Computer. Aloha, everyone. This is Jean Marie Russell of Dolphin Touch Wellness Center in Kapa'a, Hawaii, and dolphintouch.org. And we have a number of wonderful events coming up. We have our breakfast club this month where we get together and talk story and have a great time. Have a business support meeting happening on the 17th. And then we're going to do a holiday fair on the 23rd. Also coming up, we are going to do a retreat in Mount Shasta in June 2nd through the 7th. And we'll be having some great excursions and fun and meditations and awesome events. You can check it out on our website, dolphintouch.org. I am right now in my healing center here in Kapa'a and enjoying this beautiful island, as you can see in the background, on Kauai, Hawaii. We have a lovely guest today, Ameera Atlantis. She is a mer healer and totally in aligned with the Dolphins, Lemuria, and Higher Levels of Consciousness podcast. And Ameera, why don't you take it away and say hello to everybody?
Aloha. Thank you, Jean Marie. Jean Marie and I share this lovely island of Kauai together. You were actually my very first friend on Kauai before I moved here. Oh gosh, when was the first time I
Yeah,
came
when
here?
when
Maybe
did you come here
I've
first?
been here 9 years. I've been living here just going on 9 years, and it was 2 years before that. So 11 years ago this January, it will be, I
Wow.
remember the exact day I flew here for the first time. It was January 14th, um, on the full moon. It was a full moon when you came and greeted me at the airport, and I followed you back to Dolphin Touch to stay up there in your apartment as I was planning my first retreat on Kauai. And I remember just standing on the grounds of Dolphin Touch, and I got there just before the sunset, and unpacked my things up in your cute little apartment up there, and went down and stood on the grounds and looked up at that full moon with tears in my eyes. And I thought, I'd never been to Kauai before, and I thought, what is this place? I am home. Like, my soul just knew that Kauai was my destiny. And I'd only spent 30 minutes on Kauai, and already, like, it just broke me wide open to be on this, to be in this land, to be here. And I spent 4 fantastic days with you. You were giving me assignments, sending me running around the islands to different things, different places like the Hindu temple, so I could get an idea of what I wanted to do for the retreat that I would hold in September at Dolphin Touch with you. We did that retreat together, and got to know you and that the Aina, and just fell completely in love with the island of Kauai and all her splendor. And here I am. It took me 5 visits and 2 years to move from Portland.
Yes, yes. I knew
Five
you
visits.
would wind up here and
Yeah,
you kept coming back. And so they
I
say
kept coming back, doing
somewhere
retreats.
between, yeah, somewhere between 5 and 8 times you keep coming here. Yeah, you're moving here. That's
Yeah, because I knew, like, my soul, it just, for any of you who've been to Kauai, or really any of the Hawaiian Islands, you understand that magnetic pull, like it's a call to your soul. You can't deny it.
yeah.
And once you get here, like, if you have a Lemurian or even an Atlantean, in your DNA, the feeling here is quite exquisite and like no other. So after a couple of years of coming back and forth, I moved and set up my home here on Kauai. And I am a teacher for the New Earth. I'm a healer and teacher for the New Earth Atlantis Rising is essentially how I refer to myself. I'm a mer healer, and I heal through the element of water. I am an incarnated mer being and very connected to Yamaya and to the Poseidon lineage. And I'm essentially an Atlantean on Lemuria with with the goal. Part of my goal or my soul story is to help to heal the rift that happened between Atlantis and Lemuria eons ago, the fallout between the masculine and feminine energies, and weave those properties, weave those energies back together in unionization and harmony so we can all return to the gardens of Atlantis and Lemuria with our masculine and feminine balanced within and without.
Yeah, that was, we had an amazing connection immediately, which was super fun. And sharing, and I think your vision and my vision is so similar in the sense that we want to raise consciousness on the planet and help people to wake up and to be present and to just have joyful, playful lives. I mean, the dolphins have shown me so much joy and play and everything else that we encounter in this world. And, we can make it more joyful for sure. There's
Yeah.
a lot of ways we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the ways we can do that is through the healing of our spiritual DNA. When you interact with somebody like you or like I, who is so connected to the mana of Lemuria and Atlantis, or either visit us or work with us personally, there's an activation in your spiritual DNA that helps you to remember and align with that truth of joy and the dolphins and the magical lands we all once inhabited.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean it comes back, and I know exactly, what you're saying when you land on this island, and it's just hard to explain, right? But when
Yeah.
you come here, there's a transformation that happens, that the air is fresher,
Hmm.
the land, the sun, the wind, it just wakes up something within you, like
Right.
something that was dormant, and takes you out of that rat race or whatever you've been experiencing in your personal life. And then you come here and it's this, whoa, huge transformation just by being on the land, on the island
Right.
there is felt. And then of course the journeys that you take people on and the journeys that I take people on, I feel more Lemurian and you feel more Atlantean, but we can, that's part of that healing journey
Yeah.
we're both doing, is that Lemurian Atlantean journey. So tell us a little bit about some of the work you do and how you work with people.
Okay, so I have many soul assignments in this earthly life. One of my major soul assignments is to help people reconnect and activate their Atlantean and Lemurian DNA, which helps you reconnect or have a deeper connection to your oversoul. And your oversoul is kind of like the sun, kind of like this vision, this golden gateway chakra image behind me. It holds all aspects of your being. And we exist in many realms and many realities because we're multidimensional beings, right? So our oversoul sends versions of us out into many other realities and timelines and universes, including this reality that we are experiencing here. So those of you who have incarnated on this earth, every single one of you have a lifetime in Lemuria and or Atlantis, whether you have recognized that or not. And maybe you know that in your soul. So when you come to me for, I call it an Atlantean Lemurian DNA activation. That activation is between you and the creator. It's between you and your oversoul. I serve as the facilitator to help with like the opening or the portal for that remembrance to come through. And I do that through what I call an Atlantean 13 chakra clearing. We have 13 chakras in our auric field and the 7 layers of your auric field. Everything begins and ends health-wise with your aura, and the 7 layers of the aura are connected to the first 7 chakras, directly connected to them. They all mean something a little bit different. Then you've got your higher chakras, your high heart, and your Earth Star chakra also, and the sacred soul in the center. So people come to me and I give you, not only do I help you clear your energy field and your 13 chakras, but I give you tools to help yourself, because what is a clearing if you are unable to maybe continue that for yourself ongoing? We all have the ability to be self-healing, to become sovereign, to be in touch with our body's energy. And that's what the Atlanteans and the Lemurians, they knew and understood how to self-heal, how to keep themselves balanced and harmonized and opened, and how to keep their spiritual DNA and their light body connected to their oversoul to maintain a fifth dimensional consciousness in a third dimensional body. And since we are third dimensional beings, kind of doing the reverse, moving back to fifth dimensional consciousness, bringing our bodies with us, there's kind of this like relearning, recalibration, reactivation of everything we once knew how to do to reverse the spiral of the fall of Atlantis and Lemuria and return to that unified fifth dimensional consciousness. So that's one of the main things I help people with.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. So you mentioned a lot of things, and I think we should go into a little deeper the understanding of, okay, multidimensional beings. That might be a new phrase for people. Can you just elaborate on your version of what that is?
I can. So I like to use really simple analogies. And the analogy I like to use for like envisioning your oversoul, like you might have heard that word, but what does that mean? So as I said before, your oversoul is that part of you that is eternally connected to the creator and holds all aspects of you. So your oversoul is kind of like the sun. So we know how we have the sun up in the sky, and the sun sends out many, many rays of itself all over the universe, all over the cosmos, and just enough energy from the sun comes down to Earth to, warm the earth, grow our crops, give us a nice tan, and so on. Because if the sun sent all of its rays directly down to Earth, what would happen?
We'd fry.
Yeah, yeah, the earth would blow up. So God's pretty smart. And God went, well, we have to have this sun to help the earth, but the sun also has to send extensions of itself to different areas, to different regions, to different universes, whatever you want to call it. And just enough will come to the earth to help the people and help the earth. So your oversoul is very similar. Your oversoul is this immense container of light, an immense container of your multidimensional aspects. We are multidimensional because your oversoul, God the creator, wishes to have many experiences through you. So this is why your oversoul sends out different versions of extensions of you that exist simultaneously at the same time all throughout creation. Time is not linear. There's really no past, present, and future. Everything is happening once on a grand spiral of time, a tapestry of time interwoven, okay, very complex, that makes up the totality of your soul experiences. And because God's pretty smart, God sent just enough of that stream or that aspect of light from your oversoul to show up here on earth as this version of you, as this version in me. While at the same time, there are other versions of you, hundreds, thousands, maybe millions in existence, all in different kinds of realities. And you know that sometimes you dream them, you feel them, you exist on other timelines, you're in Atlantis, Lemuria, maybe Avalon, maybe Pleiades, maybe Sirian. We are all these grand starseed beings. And the reason you only will experience yourself on this timeline and this ray of light, because if we were to acknowledge the totality of all we are, what would happen? That light would blow us up. Okay, we wouldn't be able to hold that level of light and consciousness in this one stream of reality. However, because of this process we're going through now called ascension, where we are awakening and growing in our soul stream of light through past life regression, which I'm also an advanced level past life regressionist, shamanic journey, meditation, all these different tools are out there and available for us to make contact and communicate with these other important versions of our soul, these other aspects that are actually here to help us with ascension. So you have a version of yourself, maybe in Atlantis or in Lemuria, that you may be conscious or unconscious of, that has gifts, that has a story to tell, that has something to bring to you on this timeline that will enable you to help not only yourself on this timeline, on this ascension, but your other aspects that are ready to ascend also. You have many aspects of your being that are looking into you for help. They're ready to return to the oversoul. They're ready to return with you to the creator, and you are helping other versions of yourself and other realities with all the shadow work you're doing. Shadow work is a big part of this. Healing your familial lines, healing your ancestors, both back generations and forward generations, because remember, there is no time. It's all happening at once. Okay, you have a great big job and responsibility that you've signed up for here. And the deeper you go into your own shadow integration, the deeper you go into the knowledge of yourself and the embodiment of yourself as a multidimensional being, wrapping your mind around maybe what that means and working on yourself consciously, the higher the ability you are gaining to contain more light of your oversoul. Boom.
Drop the mic.
That was a lot. I know that was a
That was
lot.
a
And
lot.
hopefully it was
Yes.
clear. Hopefully it was clear as mud.
Well, those who will get it will get it. Those who don't, well, maybe it just sparks some
And can ask questions, and come to us and ask more questions about it. Because hopefully the idea behind my words is to serve as keys and codes for more awakening. If you don't ask questions, if you don't get curious, it's very hard to go deeper into absorbing and observing the ascension process.
Yeah, so from your point of view, what is the goal here of ascension?
Life itself is the goal. I believe there is no finish line. Life itself is the goal. We are on a continuous journey of learning and creating and recreating ourselves, and most of all, being explorers and having experiences. You and me are explorers.
Yes.
Our soul has a desire to learn. And so this is why, you may have heard about karma and past lives or other lifetimes and having experiences with souls over and over again. The reason we do that is because we are curious, we're explorers. There is no death. We are eternal beings, right? So right now we're in this experiment, the Atlantean experiment of reversing the fall of Atlantis and Lemuria, which is something we'll probably talk to deeper about. But we're all exploring and experimenting, and on some level having fun with how we can create ourselves. I really believe that's the goal. We know we're eternal beings. We know there is no death. There is only the transformation, the experience in this lifetime and many other lifetimes. And it's full, like the fullness of what we can create, what we can transform, poof out of this existence one day in 80 or 100 years and transforming into something else.
Yeah. I like to say, for people that ask, why are we here? What is this? And for me, it's just that we're here for the experience. We're
Yeah.
here for the taste of a strawberry or the feel of the sun on our face or swimming in the ocean or, we're here for different experiences and we're just here and our experiences are being shared with the
Mm-hmm.
collective on this multi-level with God or however you vision authority and however you envision a higher being. But that we're just here to have fun. And we're not here to work, 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 and then die or
Yeah.
retire or whatever. It's like, even if and it's not like we don't work, of course, we do, Ameera and I both do a lot of work, but it's like, but we try to make it joyful.
It's work of the heart. You know, when you're in your soul calling and when you're creating through joy, most of the time it doesn't feel like work at all.
No,
And,
absolutely.
and what you said, something you said is really important about what we're here to experience, swimming in the ocean and tasting strawberries. The Atlanteans incarnated from fifth dimensional above and beyond into 3D for that reason. Because in spirit form, you can't hug a loved one. You can't make love. You can't drink the delicious wine and food and feel the elements. You can only do that in a body. We come here because in a 3D body, we have the five senses. And the exploration of the five senses and the sensations that bring and the learning that that brings is why we continue to come back. One of the reasons why we continue to come back over and over again.
Yes, yes. I know I hear a lot of people say, or they look at and they like, oh, this is going to be my last lifetime. And I'm like, I don't know how they figure that out or they think that, or I am like, absolutely not. I'm just having too
I
much
love that.
fun here. I'm like, I'm gonna come back, and if I could help more people along the way, great, and just keep going and having more experiences. There's so much more I want to experience. So many
Well, and if we're truly creating the new Atlantis and Lemuria, who knows what you and I are helping to recreate. So the next time you come back,
right.
it could be like an even better, lighter, more fun, more joyful experience because of the transformation that will have gone on from 3D Earth to 5D Earth.
Yes. And that's the whole thing, like waking up. And I would say these young ones coming in right now, the children,
Mhm.
what do they call it? That Gen A.
Alpha, the alphas.
I mean, these kids are coming in awake. They're coming in remembering past lives. They're coming in knowing who they are, and bypassing all that stuff. We had to go through the drudgery, like we got into the matrix and then we had to
Right.
hack our way out of the matrix and then figure out, oh, this is
Yes.
what's really going on, not what they've been telling me, not what I've been shown. Yeah, so just destroy that idea, destroy that belief, destroy, destroy, destroy until you come to the truth. Yeah, these kids are coming in awake and knowing. I mean, there's like 3-year-olds playing concerts because like the 4 or 5 maybe, but they remember.
They have
And
brought
remember.
in that version of themselves and integrated that version of themselves that knew how to play the piano.
Right.
They've
It's great.
integrated those other aspects of themselves that have these immense gifts and talents and remembrances.
Right. And to me, it's all in our DNA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there.
Yes.
It's just us awakening that and it gets
And
transferred.
remembering and,
And
and trusting it and like trusting that we can do that and bringing in that embodiment.
yeah. So yeah, maybe the next time we do come back, we'll really have fun. We'll come in awake and
Yeah.
knowing the multidimensional cells and
Right.
don't have to figure that out along the way. So let's talk about Atlantis and Lemuria. Let's go into that.
Okay.
And let's talk about, well, a lot of people talk about the fall of Atlantis and
Yes.
the abuse that Atlantis had with technology. It took technology and it abused technology and it was able to heal people, but it was only the elite that would be healed and the poor people weren't being helped. All of these stories that we've
Yeah.
heard of Atlantis. So tell me what your version of that is and what you're seeing from that.
Okay. So there were actually 5 experiments, 5 rising and 5 fallings.
Well, the
And
whole
each
human
Yes,
cycle.
there are 5 different versions of Atlantis. So the version of Atlantis that I'm here to speak and talk about is the last fall, which was about 13,000 years ago. In every version of Atlantis, it was a different experiment with a little bit different dynamics. By the time we got to the 5th version of Atlantis, like the reset, let's try this again. And remember, we came back over and over again because there's no death. Why not try it again? Why not see what kind of a new outcome we could create? So Atlantis was an experiment, and you cannot have an experiment until you add a variable. The original Atlanteans who incarnated from fifth dimension to third dimension came in with their spiritual body, emotional body, everything intact, fully realized and connected to the creator. They all lived under the 7 sacred laws of Atlantis, including the law of one, beautifully. And Atlantis existed as a cohesive, harmonious civilization for a very long time until the variable came in, which would be what we would call the dark entity, the dark energy. And we all knew before we incarnated that this was going to be the variable that would test, could we exist as third dimensional beings with the fifth dimensional consciousness, even with the insertion of ego, with the insertion of the feeling of competition and jealousy, and some of those lower vibrational energies that came in with these influences who infiltrated the Atlantean community. Again, when I say this, I don't have judgment against what we call the dark entities, because everything exists in a duality and has a purpose. And we knew this was part of the plan. We were in an experiment. So as new technologies were introduced, and not only new technologies, but the idea of maybe 2 scientists working side by side, and everybody being equal, everybody having equal housing, equal, equal material, whatever they needed to support. And maybe an infiltrated entity going to one of the scientists and saying, hey, you're really good at what you're doing. You're actually better than this guy. Why do you live in the same house that he does? Why is how you're being supported materially the same when you're clearly so much better? And the idea of jealousy and competition was inserted and introduced in the priesthood, in the scientific community, in the governing bodies, which weren't the same as governing bodies as we have today, but those kind of like who helped Atlantis grow. It was introduced into the collective to see what would take. Some of them were like, well, that's not under the law of one. God fully provides for me. I don't accept that concept. But there were some who broke down and went, oh, so I actually can have better clothes, or actually can have more this or that. So that was how the idea of ego was inserted into people. And then as it started to take in some of the leaders of the Atlantean community, then some of the technologies that were introduced, and technology is neutral, guys. It depends on what you use it for.
It's how you use it. Yeah.
It's how you use it. Technology itself is not a bad idea. AI, for example, which was very prevalent in Atlantis, is not a bad thing. It's how it's utilized. So as the community, the leaders in the community were usurped, the technologies began to be used for nefarious means, genetic experiments, for example, and for sending out thought forms to the people that were undermining the law of one would be examples of that. Okay, so as
You
that
just
grew,
back
and
up
then more
for a
people got
second.
infected by the virus. Yeah, go ahead.
Just explain the law of one.
So the law of one, there are 7 spiritual laws of Atlantis, and the premier law of Atlantis, the law of one, is that all beings are equal under the creator. There is no hierarchy of importance, whether you are a gardener or a high priest or priestess. All are considered the same and equal under the eyes of God and in the Atlantean community. Everybody was provided for in the same type of way. You didn't get better because of your station in life, and you weren't looked, it was not an autocratic or top-down leadership. We have autocratic leadership now. Okay,
Right.
we have top-down. We are all programmed to corporatocracy and to looking outside of ourselves to be governed. And it was not like that in the initial days of Atlantis. Even though there was a governing body, all they really do were like the city planners, the community planners. Somebody had to like go, well, we're going to arrange this way, and we're going to have this, festival on this day, and we're just going to oversee the community and make sure everything runs well. Okay,
Right.
they didn't have a hierarchy. They had a council of 12, with Metatron being the 13, that just kind of like oversaw one couple from each of the 6 regions, twin flame couples who oversaw. And so, we are so accustomed to being nannied by our government, and our government being
Right.
inserted into every area of our lives. We have forgotten that we can be self-governing. What we are relearning is that no matter who is president or king or who are our elected officials, they are not the boss of us. We are completely entitled to be in our own integrity and self-authority, and to express that, be sovereign. But in
Sovereign.
order to do that, there's some things we have to learn. If you want to be a person who is in your own self-authority, it's the little things like remembering to put your shopping cart away. Like, we have to go, most people
Yeah.
can't even like put their shopping cart away. It's doing the right thing. It is taking a time to do things right and correctly, to complete what we started, and to be self-guided,
Did
to
you
be,
hear about in Japan? I just want to interject. In Japan, they raise their kids. They're not even given a test until fourth grade because they don't believe in tests,
yeah,
because that's competition and everything else. And they're trying to get everyone on board. Not only that, they don't have janitors or sanitation men. The kids clean the school. They take responsibility in the school and doing the sweeping and cleaning and everything
wow,
else. And they're really taught respect. I mean,
yes,
in the top
respect.
and that is a big thing that is ingrained in them at a young age. And I applaud them for that. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, that is a really beautiful example of a new earth way of living. To
Yes,
teach your children to do the right thing, and to respect themselves, and respect their parents, and respect their environment, their school. The idea of not introducing children to competition at a very young age is, I mean, that was the Atlantean and Lemurian way either. So you learn to be self-governing. And in order to be self-governing, we have to be honest with ourselves, first of all, right? If we're telling ourselves lies, if we're in denial of our own truth, you can't be authentic and integrity to anything or anyone else. So that's a big lesson we're learning as a collective.
yes. Well, there are so many people. Like, I recently worked with a woman who her husband had died 9 years ago. And we were doing the dolphin energetics in ocean, doing a clearing and releasing. And she's talking about the pain
Hmm.
and she wasn't getting to the heart of the issue, where the heart of the
Yeah,
issue was security.
yeah,
She did
right.
not even connect, she did not even say that to herself, that she was scared, physically,
Yeah,
emotionally, mentally. And that's why there was a time where she wanted to leave the planet, because her husband, who had been there all this time, was now gone. And
she
so,
felt vulnerable.
and it's like, how many times do we deny ourselves the truth
Yeah,
because we don't even want to look there? We don't even want to, we want to status quo, or we're going to play the game or present this image of who we are, where we're not truly being fully awakened and honest. And I just spoke to her yesterday. She's gone through this total transformation, and she's coming into, like, her whole life has changed because
hmm,
now she's being authentic. She had
yeah,
this mask on, this shield, and you couldn't have that intimacy and that closeness with someone who is not being authentic, who's not
yeah,
coming from their heart space. And that is not taught in our school and anywhere else. It's like, present a strong image, or even on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff.
right.
It's all this false image that we're presenting instead of being, like you said, authentic and being true. And the other thing they do in Japan is that they teach kids independence, where they actually, can walk themselves to school and all that. And I used to do that. I used to walk to school. Now, oh my God, if you talked about a parent letting their kid walk
Yeah,
a mile to school, they're like, oh no, they'll be molested.
right.
Yeah, or so, it's such a crazy world we're in right.
Well, the fear programs that have been put upon us all
Yeah,
is what, because I remember when I was growing up, and you probably remember too, being, Gen Xers, like I was walking to school and riding my bike for miles and miles and going out into the woods to play all day. And my
right.
parents never thought anything
They
of
didn't
it.
even
Like
thought
we were
anything. They were like,
feral.
oh,
We
good,
were
get out of the
full,
house.
yeah, we were full feral, a feral generation. And we don't, children don't get to have that kind of childhood anymore. And I believe the Japanese culture to be, ancestors of Lemurians.
Yes.
So they understand in their DNA, in their spiritual DNA, and in their subconscious, they understand this is the proper way of life. This is the true, authentic way to raise your children and raise your families. And there's an element of safety they have in the world because of the culture and because of the mindset they've created as a collective.
Yeah. And, if we talk about Lemuria, the landmass expanded all the way from Japan to California.
Right,
It was this huge landmass, but now, the water rose. Now it's underground. And it's just Kauai is the peak of these mountains in the Hawaiian Islands. These Hawaiian Island mountains are one of the tallest mountains on the planet, taller than Mount Everest. They're just underwater.
right.
We're on the tip, the edge of the mountain, the peak of the mountain, where in Lemuria it was very hard to access those very tall peaks. So yeah, that makes sense that Japan is connected to Lemuria
Hmm.
as well.
Sure. Teaching the world, maybe setting a precedence.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Atlantis kind of got a bad rap
Yeah.
because of that last lifetime. And let's talk about, what happened with technology in Atlantis that
So technology, AI became more important than spiritual connection. But that was also part of the experiment, right? Were people
yeah,
going to get lost in the material world, in the physical world, and forget the spiritual? And many, many, many did. And a lot of folks like to villainize Atlantis because let's face it, there are a lot of Atlanteans and Lemurians who carry woundedness from what happened to them in Atlantis. I call it the Atlantean shadow. Without recognizing that we all agree through our free will to be part of the whole, part of the experiment. We agree to be here and that we are eternal, and that experience does not make up the totality of your being. I know from being a regression therapist that we have been all of it. I have been the perpetrator and I have been the victim. I
right.
actually remember an existence in Atlantis where I was one of those scientists doing genetic experiments on people and creatures, morphing them together with their mind, causing tremendous pain and agony and a distortion in the organic world because man does not create. God creates. Okay, we were usurping the organic creative ability of God and trying to play God. And I remember being a scientist doing that. Part of my penance, part of my karma on this timeline is to heal that Atlantean scientist that caused so much pain and distortion through my acts of service here. So I understand because I've been in the body of that Atlantean scientist what it means to be a perpetrator, which is a
Right.
lot more difficult than remembering a lifetime as a victim. When you
Yeah.
remember being a bad guy, that's powerful medicine.
Yes. Yeah. And but it also builds compassion.
It does.
When
Exactly.
you see, the hate in the world or the acts of people, and you're like, how could, but it's like people can get so caught up in the wrong ideas and they think they're doing the right thing, or they're in such pain that they
Hmm.
can't even feel their heart, or whatever it is
Yeah.
that drives them to do what they do. It's like, yeah, it's like you can't know until you've been in their shoes, walked a mile in their moccasins to feel that and to know that.
And it's really the bigger understanding of, yes, we have right and wrong and divine right ways to act out in the world and nefarious ways to act out in the world. This is a free will universe.
That's right.
That remembrance did allow me compassion and help me to come out of my severe judgment of those creating havoc on the earth, because I remember being that too. So my choice every day is to attempt to what I call 0 point, bring those emotions into neutrality and simply choose via my free will a new timeline and act in that the integrity of the timeline which that I wish to create for this planet instead of dwelling on the hardships.
Yeah, there's so many times where, like, especially if you're in the public eye and you have somebody coming in and they're just being irate or mean or cruel, and and it's hard not to take it personally, but
Yeah,
sometimes you don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know
yeah,
if, their husband just died, or if someone just yelled at them, or you don't know the background story. And so for us to like maintain that neutrality and
yeah,
be in our neutral space and not have somebody, like we have this spinning top, and not have somebody knock you off your top, and then your whole day is bad, and then you're projecting that to the next person you meet. It's all about us just, yeah, having compassion and understanding for those. Obviously they're going through a hard time, and they're just, yelling and
yeah.
screaming to get on you, and that's how the world is. So let's talk about AI for a second, because
Okay.
that's really big right now.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk more about, what your take on it is, and where, how it relates to, like, there's some certain direction that
Hmm.
AI can go to, and there's some fears there too
Yeah.
about AI, and it is putting people out of work. That's true.
Yes.
And it is causing some confusion. So how do you see AI, and how does that relate to the AI in the land?
Well, the AI in Atlantis essentially usurped and took over the spiritual essence of the majority of the Atlanteans. And the reason Atlantis fell was, the experiment came to completion. It wasn't because the Atlanteans were bad people, although there were bad things going on. It was simply the creative destruction, create, destroy, recreate. That is the natural cycle of God and life. We create. Okay, think about spring as the creation, and then you have the summer, then you go into fall, that's the destruction, and the winter is the destruction, and we recreate back through the spring. Everything is a cycle, and the natural evolution and cycle of Atlantis completed itself. Atlantis was not a failure. A lot of people want to say it was a failed experiment. It was just an experiment. And if we go to neutrality and see it from a step back position, we can look like, well, this is why the experiment went down. This is why it worked this way, and choose a new path in this reality when we're revisiting a lot of the spiral timelines. Many of things that were happening 13,000 years ago are happening now, including technology and AI. So what will the majority of humanity choose in this experiment? Will we remember our connection to the organic natural world, to the earth and God, and allow AI to be an asset? Or will we allow the forces that are trying to bring AI in to control us? We'll allow that to be the predominant timeline. And it depends on your vibration, your frequency, your compassion, and how the outcome you are wishing to project into the new timelines and the one you're willing to step into. Because there will be a split. I think there is already a split that has happened where there will be a version of this earth that will repeat Atlantis. But the exalted version of Earth, which I believe is already in place, already happening, many of us will decide by virtue of our frequency and vibration, by virtue of the signal we are emitting out, to take the version of AI technology and allow it to benefit us and allow it to be for benevolent purposes. And those who are creating, the chaos will just fall away from our existence.
So
Just
you're seeing two planets.
envision them just going into another dimension.
So you're seeing Earth splitting into two, like
I
two.
think it's already happened.
Yeah, see that's the way I see it too. And
Yeah.
those of us of the higher, those of us, hopefully, the higher ascension will be there in this new Earth, that new Earth that we create. Well, it kind of is like what you project is what you get back.
Yeah.
You know, what you're sending out to the universe is but what is being returned to you. And if you're sending out good vibrations, if you're sending out good energy and all of that love and joy and
Mhm.
happiness, and then it comes back. I mean, it's just it's so apparent to me on a daily basis how things, if you stay in your heart space, you attract certain things, and then certain people attract
Yeah.
totally different things because that's the space they're in.
And you mentioned like, job layoffs and things like that. And, most of the people out there in the world, I think it's safe to say, don't like their jobs. They're not happy, they're not fulfilled, they're not allowed to be in their creative potential. So, something on a positive spin that will be happening with AI replacing jobs as people will be allowed to be free to go do what their soul was born to do on this planet.
Absolutely. When I talk to my son, he's in VFX and the industry, and AI has replaced certain jobs, but the jobs that they've replaced are like menial, nothing job. It's not the creative job. It's just like if you think about the factory worker, someone in a factory doing that, yeah, they're not really enjoying that job.
Yeah,
So let a machine do it and let the humans do jobs that are more creative, more using our intelligence or maybe our gifts or
yeah.
healing or whatever, or expression or art or whatever their potential is, and let that be the focus. And I've worked with AI, and I've worked with AI for writing, different things. We have to do
Right. And for
articles, right?
photo imaging and things, yes.
Right. We use AI, and it's a tool. It's a tool. It's a great tool. I think it's great. I can write a paragraph and then I'll send it to AI and correct the grammar and correct the whatever or make it flow better. Yeah, it's like, why not? Why not? Just use it as a tool. It's not like the AI is creating, you can give up all of your work and say, here, create this whole thing, or you can have your input in it and make it your own
Hmm.
and embellish the use of the AI. So yeah, it depends, just like with government, whether they can, you just give the government, oh yeah, take care of me, give me everything I need, or you say, no, I'm going to be this sovereign being. I'm going to take
Right.
care of myself. I'm going to, yeah, and the government will help in ways, but I'm going to be able to take care of myself in my own way.
Well, and that's to your point. I actually do believe that there probably will be some kind of a financial crisis, economic crisis that goes down this next year in the United States. Because our fiat currency, I mean, it's fiat currency, it's not worth anything. And I do believe that there is an agenda by the government to, once that happens, to provide some kind of universal basic income, but there's going to be strings attached to that.
Oh, yeah.
So, anytime the government says, oh, we're going to give you this, we're going to save you, there's going to be strings attached to that. So just kind of a heads up for everybody who is thinking about, thinking about this made up money program that we have and this made up stock market that we have at some point, because all things false are destined to fall. They're not in the truth. They're not in light. Okay. Just, have awareness of preparing yourself and your family for some kind of alternative to maybe what might be coming in to try and replace, the income you're getting from your job, whatever that might be.
Oh, so you have any idea what
Well,
what is that,
I don't want to
digital
give any,
currency?
yeah, I mean, I think that's going to become a thing. And digital currency, in my opinion, is that's one of those things that has its positives and its not so positives too. And so, I've invested in some gold and silver, and I'm looking at, some alternative ways to keep my, my flow and my material world going around where I won't have to look to the government for any kind of dependency because, if you know anything about the corporatocracy of our government, and we don't have to get into all of that, that's a false structure too. That's all fake and phony too. So all these structures that have been put upon us in these programs, we're looking at in this decade, we're looking at them, probably not being in existence in the next few years. So we can build something better.
Yes. Are you talking about the government not being in existence, or what are you talking about not being in existence?
Well, I think, well, our economic structure for sure,
Mhm.
religious structures are already being looked at as something that has been, a false program and doctrine and dogma. Um, Anything, our medical industry,
Mhm.
like, we're all pretty much aware that, the food pyramid, for example, is a terrible idea. And we're looking into how do I feed myself in a way that really supports my body as an organic being outside of what the government programs has told me to do, as far as bread and wheat as the bottom of the food pyramid. And what we are looking to, what do I need as an individual person, a unique being in this world, to feel healthy and sustain my health?
Yeah, I love the idea that, well, of course I Reiki master, and I do a lot of Reiki and Reikiing the food. And what I tell my students and people, it's like you have to tune into your body, and even when you're looking at a menu, it's like
Hmm.
what's lighting up for you.
Yeah.
When you're trying to decide what food, or if you have food in front of you, how does it feel before you just like gobble this food down? You
And
know,
how am I going to feel tomorrow?
yes, or an hour from now.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's like, it's about you having this communication with your body, and asking your body what does it need right now, what does it want right now, what are you craving, and you're craving an avocado, or whatever it is, and trusting that, rather than, okay, it's 9 o'clock, we got to eat breakfast, 12 o'clock, we got to eat lunch,
Right.
6 o'clock, we got to eat dinner. I was never hungry at those times. I'm still not. Like, like to eat breakfast at 11, and
Right.
lunch at 2 or 3, and then dinner or something. So it's a matter of us tuning into our bodies, tuning into ourselves,
Hmm.
tuning into and again becoming sovereign, which has kind of been the theme here of us, really connected to not only with our food, but our life, looking at our
Yeah.
life and our jobs, and how do I want to see my day? How do I want to experience life, and where do I want to experience it life, and how do I want to live, and all of that. And then and then people like, oh, that'll never happen, or when I retire
Yeah.
happen. And
And taking the initiative to take action. Like most of us have like all these thoughts and things that we want to do or things we can do, but it is important for all of us to take action on our thoughts and dreams.
yeah, so for you coming to Kauai, I mean, it took you 5 times, but it was like, what was
I
it?
had my sights set and I was like, this is happening. And I moved mountains in my life to
Yeah,
help it to happen.
tell us a little bit. How do you know? Because there are people out there that want to make change. The people out there that say, "Oh, but it's so difficult, or it's so hard, or oh,
Yeah.
yeah." And
I think to make any kind of change or to reach any kind of goal or dream, you have to become obsessed with it. I become obsessed with Kauai. And I had many, I was still raising a child and I had all these different dynamics going on in my life, including a family that did not want me to go and move and didn't believe I was going to do it and didn't support me doing it. Nobody in my family supported me doing it. Even when I made the announcement 2 years prior, I really want to move to Kauai and do retreats. I had all these obstacles, foreseen obstacles in front of me, and even including finances. But I became obsessed with moving to Kauai because my soul said yes. And when your soul says yes to something and you feel that call or that pull, if you fall into that and deny or push back all the outside voices and all the obstacles and stay focused on what you need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make that dream come true, then it can happen for you. The problem is most people give up or they get overwhelmed by the idea of how can I make this happen, or they let other people talk them out of it.
yeah,
Okay, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your dream and your vision and follow your soul and become obsessed with whatever it is you want to, whether that's writing a book, moving to a foreign land, or whatever it is, whatever dream you have for yourself, fall into that completely and say, give your sacred yes to God, into your soul, to move mountains to help that to happen. And
yeah.
don't give up.
It's really about having
Yeah,
laser focus, and your eye on the target.
yeah.
You could easily be distracted, like, oh, something shiny, and then you're over here, but if you have
Or
your,
give up. Yeah.
or give up, or say, oh,
Or
this,
get lazy.
or exactly, exactly. I know when we were coming to Hawaii, I had ordered um this. At the time, I went to the Kauai Visitors Bureau, and they sent me a CD of Brother Is, actually, and a couple of other artists.
Hmm.
And he's a Hawaiian singer, and I never even heard of him, but I just would play that song over
Yeah.
and over. And we would visualize it, we would see it, it's going to happen. And even for us, yeah, it was a lot to move here to make it happen. But then doors opened in unexpected ways, and this, like, boom, 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 things happened, and the universe opened up and said, yes, here, okay, and it's like, how much do you believe in your vision?
How much do you want it? How bad do you want it?
And then making it happen, it just was, yeah, and not giving up. Too many people I work with, they will quit just before the miracle,
Yeah.
the expression, but it's like they try it once, oh, it didn't work, and then they give up. It doesn't work that way. You're gonna
Yeah.
fail. You're gonna fail. That's part of the journey, just even part of the living.
And I think our generation, like it was really ingrained to us and to us through, our parents, that you work hard for what you want. Nothing is handed to you, that you have to get up and like, get dirt under your fingernails and get your boots on the ground and like believe and take action. And I think a lot, the generations now, there's a lot of entitlement and a lot of feeling like, it'll just happen. Or maybe they don't have to work so hard for their goals and dreams because their lives are a lot easier in some ways than ours were. We
Yes.
didn't have cell phones and all this technology to get us
It's harder
going.
in other sense. Like, thank God we didn't have Facebook and
Yeah,
Instagram. I mean, God, you know, yeah, the psychological effects of that is tremendous. But yeah, it was a different way of living. And yeah, and that's why it's eager to give up to the government. Oh yeah, you take care of me, or you do
right.
this, or you do that, or you pay for my medical, you pay for this, or you give me money for free for doing nothing, and collect
Yeah.
unemployment, collect this, collect that. And it's like that's not creating the type of people we want to create: intelligent, smart, creative
Well, and
people.
the reason the government does that the way we're conditioned this way is because sick, broken, dumb people are way easier to control than wealthy, smart, and educated people are. Okay, if we have a society of people that are very dumbed down and in lack and unhealthy, eating unhealthy food, you are much more likely to be controlled
Yeah,
because you'll take whatever handout and I'm not saying there are people in the world who really do need help. There are people in the world who, single mothers and people who need some kind of assistance to help them to get back up on their feet. After I got divorced, I actually went on food stamps for a while back in Portland while I was trying to build my business. Okay, so I accepted something from the government to help me and my family get going. But I utilized that as a platform for me to grow from and to expand from and to build my dream of having, this healing business that I have. I didn't use it as a band-aid through my whole life. It was a temporary solution so that I could come into my own power. And there is nothing wrong with asking for help and getting help on your steps to help yourself. It's all about helping ourselves and utilizing what might be given to us as something to propel us forward and help us to become successful. And so, it's my hope that we can become a society of people that we do help each other. People need help out there in the world, right? People
absolutely.
need some money, food, resources, okay, to help. But then we have to find that power within us to utilize those resources to propel us forward into something better.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So, Amira, Atlantis, where can people find you?
AmeeraAtlantis.com is my website. I am also on Facebook under Ameera Atlantis Mer Healer and Instagram also. I think it's Ameera_Atlantis 11 or something. And so, yeah, anybody who would like to experience an Atlantean Lemurian DNA activation or a past life, I actually call it past life progression. Instead of a regression or any of my other intuitive services, the best thing to do is just jump on my website, AmeeraAtlantis.com, and we can start a dialogue.
And now you have a program that you're doing.
I do. I've written a book, which is 10 years in the making, and put a video program together along with that book called Activate Your Atlantean Light, Body, and DNA. Which is a book. You'll get the ebook, the PDF, and also about 10 hours of my video teachings on a history of Atlantis and Lemuria, a history of the Mer people, as well as my full meditations and teachings on opening your 13 chakras, aligning them, activating your sacred soul, which is your master chakra, and then going in and healing the 7 layers of your aura, and also learning about the 7 spiritual laws of Atlantis. It's a comprehensive, like 10-hour tool and teaching for you to connect with your light body and your oversoul and better prepare yourself for ascension.
Perfect. I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much. We'll see you on Kauai somewhere, I'm
Yes.
sure, and probably at Casca. And
Or the beach.
this is Jean Russell signing off. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we're hoping you're having a beautiful, sunny, beautiful day. Aloha.
Aloha.